Hello and welcome to our program where each week we'll bring you a series of interviews with people educating and inspiring in the hot topics of health, wellbeing and lifestyle. For our first guest today we have Trudy Pavlovsky, the Queen of Shadow Values, who will be talking to us today about embracing our shadow values. Welcome, Trudy.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here today, Linda.
What are shadow values for our viewers out there?
Viewers might be able to identify general normal values. So the traditional values of trust and love and respect, those nice values that you're totally happy to share with the world because they feel good. I work with the values on the flip side, which are the shadow values. So these are values that growing up, something's happened, we've been taught to be ashamed of wanting this value, and I illuminate those values. We bring them into the light because when you harness the power of the shadow values, what happens, you use these values to motivate you with your goals, and your life just can take off in ways that never before thought possible. So there's 10, and today obviously we don't have time to go through 10 of them. So I really wanted to share 2 of them today. So I wanted to talk about attention and validation, because when I work with people with these values and they embody it and they get it, their life really does start to transform. So I'll talk to you about attention first, because here we are on TV, like center of attention. So we've embodied this value, right? We feel good about getting attention. But I want to ask the viewers, how many of you out there secretly crave attention, to be seen, to be recognized, but you don't take the action to go out and do it? Especially if you're in business or you're wanting to change your life somehow, get a promotion, receiving attention when it feels good allows you to get what you really want. And then with validation, this is a really interesting one, because quite often when we're growing up and we're like little kids, we're always looking for approval from a parent or a teacher or an older sibling. But if we don't get that approval, we feel bad, and then we start looking for it further and further afield, and we lose trust in our own ability to make decisions for ourselves and to be okay going after what we want. So when we learn to invalidate ourselves internally and stop asking 20 people around us if what we want to do is okay, we just feel better. We start taking action from a place that's so much more inspired. And if we're in business or if we're looking to create something in our life, we get the momentum because we're not constantly having to check in with somebody else.
Trudy, we were talking off camera about imposter syndrome. So could you explain to our viewers something a bit more about imposter syndrome and what it is for them?
Imposter syndrome, which is a person's inability to believe in their own results, no matter how much they've studied, how much effort they've put in, no matter how many times people say good job. That ties in so closely with shadow values and downplayed their results. Chances are, if you're doing that and saying that to yourself, you've got imposter syndrome. And so what happens when you start embodying your shadow values, that little imposter syndrome voice, it just gets quieter and quieter and quieter in your mind, because your shadow values, when you can be comfortable with attention, can validate yourself, and some of the other ones, take control of your own life, honor your own ambitions, own your own superiority, be comfortable receiving money. When you build up all of those, the imposter syndrome stops, because you get comfortable being recognized for who you are. Because it goes back to our beliefs around what we have around who we are, how we show up, what we want to create in the life, and what we think is possible. And beliefs form in childhood, and they're based purely on our experiences, so they're very unique for everyone. And when you can look at your beliefs and see how they've formed patterns growing up and how they shape your life, then you can see these are my values, and they all tie together in a nice little bow. But if you want to start transforming these things, it's like, have a look at where you're putting the brakes on in your life, where you're saying, I can't possibly do that, or I can't receive that, or I'm not worthy. Because when you look at those patterns and those thoughts that you have in your head, that's when you can start creating the change. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you chip away at every day. And you would start with the value of attention. And it's like, where do I not feel comfortable receiving attention? And one of the ladies I worked with, she didn't feel comfortable going out in a pretty dress and wearing lipstick. So she decided one day, because she'd received negative attention in the past, she decided that she was better than the past, and she wanted to reinvent the story that she was telling herself. So she got up one morning, she put on the nice dress, did her lipstick, did up her hair, and she walked down the street. And she'd made the decision when she was walking down the street to hold herself high, to smile at people, and be comfortable in that moment.
So with that education that you've received in your own life about imposter syndrome, about shadow values and how all of these things play out for you, what really inspired you to look further into your own life and how that existed there?
Yeah. I didn't have exactly a happy life, and there were times when I didn't want to be here anymore. And I got to a point in my life where I really had to make the decision, how do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? How do I want to be seen in this world? And what kind of legacy do I want to leave? And that took me on a journey of learning about life coaching, neurolinguistic programming, energy work. I've got so many qualifications, it's ridiculous. But it started with that decision to go, I want more. I deserve more. I'm worthy of more. I gave myself permission to be the person that I always knew I was here to be. In spite of the pain and the trauma and the disappointments, I decided to look beyond that and go, I'm here for so much more. And embracing all of those values, and it just changed everything. And so that's why I'm here, to share that work.
And also, as a last takeaway for the audience, what would you say to them as a suggestion for them to take away from today?
One of the biggest lessons I learnt in life was that permission, it all starts with you. Now, I could have decided to stay miserable, but I decided I wanted more. So I gave myself permission, and then I looked at the decisions that I was making, and I decided to make different decisions. And from those decisions came smart choices. So for me, it's permission, decisions, choices.
Thank you, Trudy. And for more information about embracing your shadow values, please go to our website. Welcome back, and now we have Dr. Zara Celik, our integrative health and wellbeing expert, and she's back with us to talk about hormonal health. So Dr. Zara, why is hormonal health important?
Hormonal health is very important because the whole communication in our body happens via our hormones. But today I'd like to focus and talk about female hormones, the whole estrogen and the whole progesterone and testosterone, and why is it important that we must make sure that they are actually balanced and they are in check. And today I'd like to really focus on that very much. I find in my clinical practice, women are not connected with their body and what their body is telling them. And they're not aware of what is happening around their cycle every month. I always tell my clients, us women, we go through 4 seasons in a month. And I normally use a lot of metaphors to explain our body to my clients. Because at every different season, we have different changes occurring in our body. And us women are not aware of it, and I will love people to really connect with the body to understand what it is it's telling us through the symptoms that we may be experiencing. Remember, I've discovered and talked about how symptoms are feedback from our physiology to let us know what is not right in the body. So if a female is experiencing bloating or heavy bleeding or clots, retaining fluid and feeling puffy and can't fit into her clothes, then I want her to really pay attention to see that her physiology is giving feedback to let her know something is not functioning quite right in the body. So rather than masking the symptoms and taking either a pill or ignoring it completely, I will invite and encourage people to question and find the root cause of their symptoms, because as I said, always I say this right in our interviews, symptoms are feedback from your physiology to let you know something is not functioning quite right. So I find when those symptoms are going on, and it could also be relating to people feeling that foggy brain, that could be another symptom, indicating that hormones need some care and love. Foggy brain, feeling sluggish, irritable, snappy, that's a big one. I find females, particularly around ovulation to before their period, they do get snappy, they do get irritable, they cry for no reason. And normally they will be okay, but just that time they can really snap, and it is not them. It doesn't match their personality. So when that happens, I encourage, if anyone's watching or knows someone may be experiencing those symptoms that I've just mentioned, to really go in and connect with the body and fix it from the source, from the root cause. Because if we don't and we try to mask it, then it's not going to resolve the issue. So for that reason, I encourage women to connect with the body and understand the body and serve and correct what is not right, because we don't want to be having those symptoms and going through that every month and shifting and going through that seasons every month. And then, of course, going into menopause or perimenopause, there will be more challenges along the way. The other thing I would like our viewers to know, period pain is a big one, right? Many women think it is normal. In fact, it is not normal at all. There may be little signs that our cycles are coming when we're actually connected with the body, we know. But most of the time people think, and women that I've actually certainly worked with, it is normal. They think pain is a normal experience. It is not. So if it is painful, if you're missing a day out of your work or your schooling, I look after a lot of young girls, they vomit when they get their period and they think it is normal and they always had it. So they always think that's how periods are, but they are not. So the other thing will be, of course, pay attention to what foods you're eating. And in my clinical practice, I take my patients through a stool test, a saliva test, a urine test to really pinpoint and see the levels of hormones. So in my clinical practice, I encourage my patients to pay attention to the physical body. I get them to pay attention to what they're eating, especially between ovulation until their period, because they may also contribute to symptoms being elevated. That way they get to know their body and they connect with the body. I personally, if I'm working with someone one-to-one, I will do a stool test, I may do a saliva test, I may do a urine test, just to see how estrogen's behaving and their levels are, and then we can correct it from the root cause.
Great. So that's amazing. What would be your absolute top piece of advice then for our viewers before we go to break?
So I would like our viewers to know that if you are experiencing any symptoms related to your female hormones, whether it is the irritability, whether it is the snappy or crying for no reason or feeling depressed or having period pains and cramps and discomfort or clots, heavy bleeding, please do not ignore them. So connecting with your body and doing what it's telling you to do is where you begin. And also be gentle and kind that you are going through 4 seasons in a month, and you do a journal and take yourself through what you're going through every month, and to get to know your body better, so you are looking and taking care of it as well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and hormonal health, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break, and after break we'll be back with more amazing guests. Welcome back, and our next guest is Kaveri Sequeira, certified health coach and author, and today her topic is sustaining a healthy lifestyle. Welcome back, Kaveri.
Thank you, Linda. Great to be back.
Always good to see you. And today you're talking about sustaining a healthy lifestyle. Now, why is it important to sustain a healthy lifestyle? Bearing in mind, I guess you've talked to us about the human diet.
Yes, absolutely. So it's really important to sustain that human diet and healthy lifestyle, because you've worked so hard in changing and doing all the things that are required to have that healthy lifestyle. So you obviously want to maintain it. I've seen so many times where people go back to their old habits and behaviors within 3 to 6 months, especially if they've done yo-yo dieting, with the different, just get a crash result. But in 3 to 4 months time, they're back, eating with their old ways of eating and their patterns. Now that doesn't happen when you follow the human diet, simply because you know how to deal with it, and also because the cravings are completely reduced, because we're having natural food and there's not much chemicals, so your body's having a bit of a chance to kind of get that reset and really heal, and you're not having those spikes in blood sugars that's going to cause you to pile on those kilos. And you're eating seasonally, and that helps a lot, as I've talked about before as well, to give your body a break to actually heal. So when I kind of achieved my weight loss goals and my weight transformation following this human diet, what I personally did was join a support group. So I actually joined people who are actually on the same journey as me, and that community feel like made a massive difference. And also just being more, just if you make a mistake and you do something or eat something that you don't want to eat and you feel like you've fallen off track, just get back on track. Don't beat yourself up. That's what we do as well, and that doesn't help being healthy, because you're mentally stressed then. So yeah, that's why it's important, and I can share with you how you could do that.
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So that would be my question to you. How can we sustain it moving forward, and bearing in mind that the healthy diet, and also you mentioned the emotional eating aspect.
Absolutely. So how do you do that? As I've already mentioned, join a community of like-minded people, because when you're in community, you have that accountability, and having that accountability really helps. And don't beat yourself up. Like if you've gone off track, recognize it and get back on track. And the emotional hunger is really a big one for us to, like, a life event happens and then you like, okay, let me just trigger that behavior. That kind of triggers the behavior to go eat something that you would have had the last time you had that life event. So my suggestion is walk away, go drink a glass of water, do some meditation or deep breathing. That'll actually help you not buckle in and fall off the rails. The other thing is, you decide the person you're going to be. You literally change your mindset around food, and you literally change who you are or identify with. For example, if someone asks me, do I smoke today? I say I'm not a smoker. That's my identity around smoking. So like for that, you can have that same identity around food. You can say, I don't eat refined sugars. Or you could say, I don't eat dairy in my diet. When you are that person, when you identify with that, then it's very easy to say no to the bad habits coming back in. So when it comes to healthy lifestyle, then why people are so happy that they've have it, and then why do they not follow it all the time? The reason is because there's some sort of life event that's happened that kind of triggers old ways of eating or old behaviors, and they kind of just fall into bad habits again. The other reason is they probably don't have the support network that's kind of required to keep them accountable to maintain that healthy lifestyle. The biggest reason though is that they haven't identified themselves as a person who's like healthy and eats certain types of food, and the identity is not associated 100%, or it's not reinforced 100%, and that's probably why they go back into old ways of eating. So my suggestion for that, I'll cover off in the tips, is how they can actually do that better.
Oh, wonderful. And so from that, then what would your best advice, your top tips for our viewers as a takeaway from today?
Absolutely. So my best tips, if you've already achieved like sustainable weight loss and you're happy with it, and if you're following a very healthy lifestyle already and you're worried that you're going to put on weight, is to make a list. This is a food list of what I do eat, what I don't eat, and I will eat sometimes. Make a list and see, is this something that I want to associate as a person, as an identity of someone who eats, 3 chocolates a day? Or you could just say, I don't eat chocolate. It's your decision, but you are now aware of what is good quality and what is not so good for your health. You get a choice. This is what food freedom is. You make a list of what you associate with something that you're going to eat regularly, something you're not going to eat regularly, and something that you eat sometimes. And that way you are not going below the line. You're not, making a mistake. And if you make a mistake, guess what? Just get back on track, because guilt and shame around this doesn't help us maintain a healthy lifestyle, because healthy lifestyle also includes your mental health and emotional health. And yes, and drink your 7 to 8 glasses of water, have healthy community around you, and that will certainly make a big difference.
Thank you so much, Kaveri.
Pleasure.
And for more information on Kaveri and sustaining a healthy lifestyle, but then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And for now, we'll say bye-bye and we'll see you next week.